If you're watching this video, odds are you're new to helicopters and DCS and don't have hours to waste on tutorials covering shit that has nothing to do with what you want to learn. So let's get right to the point. First, the controls. In your options, find the Special tab. The type of hardware you use will largely depend on what you choose here. Those of you using sticks with fairly strong springs that self-center will want to use center position trimmer mode. If you're like me, you don't use springs at all, choose FFB without springs. Instant trim can be used for either, but I found it to be the best way to fly yourself into the ground if you're too low and should be avoided in most cases. Next, search for trim in the aircraft controls. It'll always be on the cyclic. In the case of the Huey, there's a trimmer and a trim switch. Use only the trimmer. In the Apache, the control you're looking for is trim up. Next, you also want trim reset in case things get out of hand. The way trim works in DCS is when you press the trim button, you set a new center point of the stick as shown here on the graph. When using the center position trimmer mode, it's imperative that you release the stick immediately and let it return to center before adding inputs, or your pitch axis will be locked out for 2 seconds. I cannot stress this enough, and it's truly a case of fuck around and find out. The bottom right gray button on my stick is the trimmer. Take note when I press this button and how the helicopter reacts. The workflow is very much a stair-step event. If you notice the aircraft wants to drift backward on takeoff, like the Huey, pitch forward ever so slightly, press the trimmer and let go of the stick. When you lift off, the helicopter should not drift backwards. If you did it too much, the helicopter is going to try to fly forward. Don't try to trim it perfectly in a hover because it's not going to happen. You're just going to get frustrated trying. Just get it to a place that you aren't fighting it. As you increase speed, trim where you're currently holding the stick to gain speed, trim and let go as needed until you're at your desired cruise speed. If trimmed correctly, you should be able to sustain forward flight with minimal interaction. This does not mean that you're going to be able to fly hands off for the duration of the flight. To slow down and land is the reverse of how you got moving, except we're walking down the stairs this time. Pitch up slightly, lower the collective to offset the altitude gain, trim, and let go. Do this a few times as you get close to your landing zone, and by the time you're just about over the pad, you should be nearly rock solid. 2 of my viewers commented to hover taxi around airports and use the pits to practice landing in. Solid advice here. Pinsk Airport in Northwest Caucasus is great for this. Thank you for your input on that, I greatly appreciate it. Everyone uses different curves and hardware, so how responsive yours is to trim will be different. This is much a game of trial and experimentation to find out what works best for you. Couple notes. Trim exists to aid the pilot in aircraft stability and reduce fatigue. It's especially useful in windy conditions. It is not intended to be an end-all be-all for hands-free flight. It's very important to remember that the trim not only works on the pitch axis, but also the roll axis as well. If trimmed perfectly, hands-free flight can be sustained for some time, but it will eventually need to be adjusted. For example, the more forward speed a helicopter gains, the rotor disc generates lift and the nose wants to climb. You can trim nose down, but the more nose down, the more speed you're going to gain. The more speed, the more lift. You see how the cycle continues. Keep this in mind and you're going to do alright. Really appreciate the support from the last video. Thanks for watching. Everyone uses different curves and hardware, so how responsive yours is to trim will be different for others and is very much a game of time and experimentation to find out works. Jesus, fuck.